Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a few Feldenkrais moves actually on your back first. So nice, gentle, slow moves. But I found this really, really useful for my sacroiliac, my lower back. So you might find the same. So first of all, actually, if you come up to standing, it's always quite useful at the beginning and at the end of class to see how you feel. So just stand how you normally stand. And see if your weight's tipping over to one side, if you predominantly lean to one side, or if you feel quite balanced. And you could lift one arm, actually, yeah, lift one arm and stretch up and just see how you feel. And the other arm, just see how you feel reaching up through that shoulder. Don't hurt your shoulder if you've got any injuries. Just feel that reach. Just see what happens in the feet when you have that reach. If the weight transfers, if you use your feet to help you, is there a connection between the foot and the arm stretching up or not? Good. Okay, so we're going to lay on your back and have your feet hip width apart. So you can put your head onto a cushion for this, or have a cushion nearby because you might need one, or you probably will need one in a moment when we lay on the side. So first of all, just see how your heels lay on the floor, your hips, your shoulder blades, and your hands. Just see how equal you feel or you don't feel between the body. So imagine an imaginary line down through the center point. And do your legs feel the same length? Do your arms feel the same length? Then we're going to start to flex the right foot. So just the right ankle, flex and point the right ankle. That's it. And then leave that foot flexed as if you were standing on the floor. And then start to push the heel away to lengthen that leg. So push the heel away, lengthening that leg. And just notice what happens with the pelvis. So it doesn't have to be a huge movement, certainly not moving into any pain. And release, relax that foot completely. And then the left foot. So flex the left foot and move that foot away from you. So your heel bone is tracking on the floor 1 centimetre as you move that foot away. And then back to its starting position. Good, and relax. And then turning on to one side, so probably the side that you can, well, you don't need to be able to see really, but the most important thing is that the head is comfortable. So put the head onto a cushion or a couple of blocks. And if you don't have anything, you can have your arms straight underneath you. Arms can be wherever. Have your knees at 90 degrees to the hips, so hip over hip, shoulder over shoulder. And then straighten your top leg. Good. So have your foot on the floor, but if this is uncomfortable, you can lift it up onto a cushion, but don't have it in the air. And flex the foot on the top straight leg. And then again, push the heel away and come back to the beginning. Pushing the heel away and back. Do that a few times. And then start to shorten the leg. So pull the hip up towards the armpits. So your foot's on the floor, so it's just all coming from the hip. So we're trying to use minimal effort. So just a couple of muscles in the hip, pulling that hip up. And then push the foot away, come back to start and pull it up. So just tiny movements in the hip, foot's on the floor. The heel is tracking down a centimetre and up a tiny bit. Good. So relax the leg for a moment, bend the knee. And we'll take that top leg out straight again. Flex the foot and then move the hip forward, back to centre and back. So just the hip. So the foot really stays where it is as the hip only a tiny bit moves forward and back. Just a tiny bit. And then we're going to join those three together. So the hip moves forward and down and back and up. So you're going in a circle. Try and keep the foot on the floor so the legs relaxed. It's just the hip moving in a circle, hitting those four areas: forward, down, back, and up. And go the other way. So tiny circles with that hip joint, foot's flexed, legs straight. Good. And rest. You can rest on your back if you want to, because we're going to change sides. So either rest on your side or your back. And then we're going to change onto your other side. So it doesn't matter if you're not facing the camera, because we're doing the same thing. So on your side, head on a pillow, knees in line with the hips, hip over hip, shoulder over shoulder. And then straighten your top leg and flex the foot. So first of all, move that hip away from you. So the heel is going down the mat about a centimetre, or a little bit more if you want to, but don't move into pain. And then include going up. So the leg goes down, back to centre, and the hip goes up. And then have a rest by bending the knee and resting it on top of the other one. And then straighten that top leg out again, flex the foot and move the hip forward and back. But the foot doesn't really move, it's just the movement coming from the hip. Minimal effort everywhere else. And then see if you can join that together. So the hip goes forward, up, back, and down, continuing round in a circle. Minimal effort, just the hip moving. And go the other way. Good. And have a rest. So you can rest onto your spine, onto your back. And you may not need a cushion for your head, certainly not a big fat cushion. So lying on your back now with a cushion or no cushion, but you might want to have the cushion behind your head to place your arms on a bit later on. So to start with, feet hip width apart, arms either side of the body. And then bend the knees with the feet on the floor. Link the fingers behind the head. And just think about a line from the hip to the shoulder and the other line from the hip to the shoulder, forming a cross somewhere on the body. So we're going to lift the head with the hands. So bring the elbows in and lift the head up and lift the knees. Not a massively strong exercise, but think about where that cross would be in the body and become aware of that cross coming closer to the floor. So just do that a couple of times. It's not a massive sit-up. It's just bringing awareness to that cross area. And then straighten out the legs, arms by the side of you. Good. And then we're going to lengthen the right leg. So flex the right foot, lengthen the right leg away, relax that foot and leg, and then do the same thing with the left. So we're alternating legs. One relaxes, the other one lengthens. But completely relax the leg as you do the other leg. So one leg at a time. Make sure the foot relaxes in between. That's it. And notice what happens to the hip. As you lengthen one hip, the other hip shortens. And start to notice what happens on the opposite shoulder. Does the opposite shoulder move? Does the head move? And relax completely. So we're now going to take an arm overhead. So you might want to have a cushion to put the arm on. So take the, say the left arm overhead. It can be either at 45 degrees or it can be by the side of your head if that's comfortable. And then flex the right foot and lengthen the right foot away. Notice what happens as you lengthen that right leg. Notice if it makes the shoulder shorten. So minimal effort. So we're just lengthening that right leg, which affects the ribs and affects the left shoulder. How is your breathing? And then we'll lengthen the arm. So relax the leg and lengthen the arm. Is there any movement in the leg? Does it shorten the right leg as you lengthen through the left arm? If you've got a shoulder problem, you can just imagine the movement. Don't hurt the arm. Good. And then rest that arm by the side of you. Rest completely. And we'll do the same with the right arm. So maybe you need more cushions or less cushions on this side with the right arm above your head. As straight as you can at the elbow. So if it means taking the arm out at 45 degrees or more cushions. And then lengthen the left leg. So flex the left foot. Push through the heel as that leg lengthens. And as you do that, take your awareness to your left shoulder. Does it shorten the left shoulder? Notice the relationship between the leg, the hip, and the ribs and the shoulder as it all works together. Relax the left leg and lengthen the right arm away. Reach with the arm, and as the shoulder lifts up, does it affect the left hip? And then relax both arms, both legs. And then bend up the knees so the feet are on the floor. Hands behind the head, elbows in. Imagine again that cross from the hip to the shoulder and the opposite hip to the shoulder. Imagine where the cross would be in the body. Then we're going to take the right elbow towards the left knee a couple of times. So right elbow to the left knee. Imagining that cross. So it's not a huge movement. It's not a great big massive sit up. Imagine where the cross is and then do the opposite side. And then relax the arms down, relax the legs, relax the body completely. Then we're going to take both arms, if that's comfortable, to your 45-degree position on cushions or by the side of the ears. Elbows straight if you can, but don't hurt the shoulders or the arms. And then we're going to lift one arm at a time. So stretch up through one arm and then stretch up through the other. Notice what happens in the hips as you stretch the arms, one side and then the other. So you're just lengthening, straightening the arm, reaching upwards. If it hurts your arms, we're just going to imagine the move. And feel it shortening the hip on that side. Do you feel that shortening of the hip? Try both arms together. Do the hips move? Or are they completely static? And then rest the arms down for a moment. If it's comfortable, take the arms back behind the head on the floor. We're then going to try one limb at a time. So try the right leg and release. Try another limb, an arm or a leg, and just alternate between your limbs. Notice what happens to the other three. So there doesn't have to be any particular order. Just randomly choose a limb. And feel the other three limbs respond. And then have a rest. Now we'll take the knees to the chest and we'll rock from side at least 20 times. So just count that rocking. So that's 20 from me. So we're going to, when you've done your 20, slowly come over onto your sides. Come up to standing. And that's really a very short little taster of, it's actually a shoulder class, but I actually felt it work more around my sacroiliac. But sometimes the lower back could be tight if we've got a tightness in the neck or the shoulder, because it's all pulling through. So just first of all, see how you're standing. Does that feel a little bit more grounded, a bit more equal through the feet? I always feel like my legs feel really heavy, like big sort of iron legs, really sturdy on the ground, nothing can push me over. And then have a go at reaching like we did before. So reach with one arm and then the other. And notice if there's any more connection between your hand and your foot than before. So maybe before, did you just lift an arm? Are you now pushing down more into that foot? Is there more of a connection between your arm and feet as you reach? Try looking up at the hand. Reaching up, if it's comfortable on your neck, looking up at the hand. Feel the connection to the floor through the feet. Good, and relax. So if you felt that was useful for your back or your shoulders, this will be on record for at least the next couple of weeks. So you might like to repeat even just that 25 minutes a couple of times over the next week. And it's very gentle, so you know, if you're not feeling very well, it's also a really good exercise to do and just keep everything moving through the body. So we're going to come on to the yoga now, onto our hands and knees, so you can get rid of your pillows. Onto your hands and knees. So I did a really interesting exercise the other day. It was easier because someone was actually pushing on my spine. So they would put their fingers on a point of my spine and I was only allowed to move that area. And then today what we're going to do is imagine the fingers on the spine. So first of all, we're going to go onto the lower back. So just imagine someone's fingers are on your lower back and just moving that area so the head doesn't move. So cat position, but the head doesn't move. Just work. Fingers on the lower back. Fingers on your sacrum, so the back of your hips. And you just move your sacrum. This is what we do when we do the pelvic clock on the floor. We just move the sacrum, the hips. Fingers in between the shoulder blades. Can you just move that part of your spine? And fingers on your cervical spine, so just the neck part. Back to your lower back. And the top of your spine above your shoulder blades. In between your shoulder blades. Your sacrum. And then come back to a neutral spine and just work with your cat pose. And now just be aware of which parts of your spine are moving when you naturally move into a cat. So having more awareness in your body, which is what the Feldenkrais actually encourages, and how your body is connected is really important in how we move more fluidly. So come back to center. If you need to rest your wrists at any time, then you can. Knees together for tiger pose. So lift the leg, lift the chest. And again, and then knee to forehead. Same side. And be aware, feel which parts of your spine are moving. Let's change sides. How does your back feel? How does your neck feel? Just adjust the movement in case it's causing any pain. And then rest in child's pose. So if it's comfortable, sit back on your heels. Rest your arms by your side. Pop your head onto a cushion or the floor. Let your shoulders rest completely. Come up to hands and knees. And we're going to lengthen through opposite arm and leg. But what we want to do is pull the tummy in so that the torso is strong, and then lift the arm, flex the back foot just like we were doing, and then return. So do it mindfully so the back doesn't start to arch. We keep the tummy in. So it's a strengthening pose. Hold for a second and then return. So inhaling out. Exhale, return. Keeping the spine nice and straight by using your core. Straighten the back leg if you can. And the foot doesn't go higher than the hip. So Kathy, just straighten your knee and push through the heel. So it's more of a lengthening rather than a lifting. That's it. So just like we did actually with the Feldenkrais, feel it's like more of a lengthening rather than a lifting of that leg. That's it. So hold it on one side. So the arm, if it's too strenuous, just keep going. Otherwise, hold one arm and one leg up. So I'm just going to have a look. So relax your wrists. So you're pointing and reaching with the fingers. That's better. Lengthen through the heel. So push the heel away, and it's more of a lengthening. Stretch through your sacroiliac and change sides. It's strong because it's half plank. So if you need to rest or just keep moving rather than hold. So remember to relax the wrist, lengthen the fingers. But so Joe, you could lift your arm up and lower your leg and then pull your core in. I forgot to remind you to use your core. So pull the tummy in. That's it. Good. And release. Rest in child's pose. So see how really strengthening that position is. We don't need to be doing the full plank positions to gain strength. That is equally, well, not equally, but still very strengthening for the whole body. And yeah, it can make the wrists a little bit sore. Just trying to think how else you could do it. Maybe if you have your hands on some foam blocks or a wedge, sometimes wedging away from you might help the hands in those positions. People with wrist problems. Okay, come up to sitting. So we're going to come into dog pose. We're just trying to, this lesson is really about body mapping. We're going to try and do things a little bit differently rather than, when you get in a car or you get on a bike or you get on a horse, your body just remembers. I'm going skiing next week, hopefully, touch wood, in Scotland. And, I'm actually quite scared because I haven't put any skis on for 15 years, but people keep telling me, oh, a couple of runs and you'll remember how to do it. So the body has this amazing memory to just go and do things. But what we want to try and do sometimes is delete that a little bit and start again. And this really helps the brain and helps the body operate differently as well. You might always carry a handbag on the same side. And then, you end up with a shoulder like down here and shoulder problems. So actually not doing the same, every time you pick your handbag up, instead of not thinking about it and slinging it over the same side, actually thinking about doing something differently. So that's what we're going to do in the dog pose. So when we're in dog pose, I'll just show you first. We've got our arms to support us. We're going to try and allow the arms to support us, but relax the shoulders. So many people come up into dog. They really tense their shoulders up, can't move their shoulders, and they cause all this tension around here. And quite often when I'm in a class, I just can't move people's shoulders at all because they're so stiff. So we're going to think about really using the arm to support us and the arm muscles, but relax through the shoulder. So that's going to really be our focus. So if you tuck your toes under, come into dog pose. So push into the hands and just see, as you push into the hands and then almost relax a bit, how the body moves as we do that. So there's different ways of doing dog pose, isn't there? Because there's about 2 inches difference to pushing into the hands fully and then almost relaxing completely on the hands. So there's about a variation of 2 inches there where you could do your dog pose in. So just have a little experiment where you could put your body and still relax your shoulders. So the arms are really supported, but the shoulders are relaxed. So we don't want to be too relaxed so the body sags. We want to feel really supported through the arms, but are still able to get some movement in the shoulders. So you might want to bend the knees to do that. Feel really supported and then hold once you've got that position. You can use your core to support you. And you might feel some different muscles in your elbows, forearms being used, if you might be doing this in a different way. So come down and have a rest. You might feel you've used muscles around your arms differently. So just for a moment, just feel that. So instead of using big, strong shoulder muscles, we might have now taken over in our arms. It's a bit like when we lift our palms up, we start to use the forearms more. So let's have another go. Might become a little bit clearer. So come up into your dog pose. Think about where your arms are. Push into the hands. Move the body up and down almost. And then find a sort of middle position where you can not be too relaxed, certainly not be tense. Good. You want to have enough room between your hands and feet. So Joe, you could go a lot wider, I think. That's it. So you're still pushing the chest through, but if you find the chest isn't going through because of tightness, then have the knees bent. That will give you more room so you can really work. That's it. Bend your knees a little bit more, Joe. There we go. And see if you can push into the hands to take the chest through. And still feel movement in the shoulder. Straightening the arms. That's it. And when you straighten the arms, does the shoulders tense up? Can you keep, yes. Can you keep the elbows soft, but not bent or straight? Like, don't really lock them, but just slightly soft in the arms without bending. That might be, because yeah, when you completely lock them out, the shoulders might go a bit tense. Is that better, Kathy? Yeah, I can see the shoulders moving. Great. And relax. And Judy, I know you always ask me, can I see you? I can't quite see you with the camera in that position. So I can see most people's, if you want to be seen, that is. Good. So you might feel you've used your arms slightly differently. So maybe do your dog pose every time you do it, you know, just adjust it slightly. Don't just come up and think about what you're doing this afternoon. Be a lot more mindful. So now we're going to do upward dog, which is a strong position. So you can come in and out of it without holding if you want to not work so strongly. What we're going to do, I'll show you first how we're going to come into it. So we're going to come into it from cat pose. You might need to take your knees a little bit further back. We're going to drop the hips forward into upward dog, and maybe you come straight out of it. But I don't want you to just do it. I want you to think about your neck having its root from between the shoulder blades. So as the chest moves forward, the chest lifts and the head goes up, but it moves from the shoulder blades. So we're not just sticking the neck back like that, we're actually moving. You do that movement, that whole lifting the chest. Think about the neck coming from between the shoulder blades. And the other thing I want you to think about is relaxing the hip flexors. So in your hips, relaxing through here. So if we start on the hands and knees, maybe the knees back an inch, just an inch or so, you can adjust them. And as you come forward, first of all, think about relaxing your groin, your hip flexors. And as you relax them, the hips drop down with gravity. And as the hips relax further, think about lifting the chest and the neck coming from the root in between the shoulder blades. And then before it gets too strenuous, lift out. So a couple of times coming into your back bend like so. Relax the hips. Lift the chest, neck from in between the shoulder blades. And you might find you're using your whole spine for the back bend. What happens with my back is so have a little rest if you need to on the hands. What I'm finding with my back is there's certain joints which are really, really flexible, and I tend to hinge into those joints when I do back bends and probably just in general daily life. So So it's really important that we try and do things differently in case, and then we might notice things like that so that we can get that really healthy back bend without hinging on those over flexible joints. And I think probably most people have some more flexible joints than others. So let's try it a few more times, or have a rest if you've continued to do it. So hip flexors relax, hips fall down, and chest lifts. Looking forward as we lift from the roots behind the shoulder blades. Good. So this time you might want to move in and out, or you might want to hold. And you might find, again, it's a different experience to your back bend. So rather than hinging into the lower back, you might find that you're using your whole back. So take a rest when you need to, as it's strong on the wrists. Hip flexors relax. So we're in a completely relaxed back bend. The arms are working and the shoulders are working. But the spine is relaxed, and it might feel very different to how you normally do your back bends. Glutes are relaxed, so we're not using the legs. That's it. Good. And coming out into your child's pose, rest your back in a forward bend. And you can make sure that the wrists, the shoulders, and the hands are getting a nice rest now. And come up. So maps of movement in the body is very much created by our lifestyle, the way we copied our parents from when we were, a baby doesn't start walking in a particular way. All babies pretty much walk the same way. And then they start to, by about toddler stage, 3 or 4, they start to almost mimic their parents. So walking differently. So if you observe children a bit older, they all walk differently, but we all started walking off the same. Again, it might be the sports that you play. You might become very one-sided, like as we get older and we start to use a handbag, or I know that's just one example, but there's loads of one-sided. How you put your coat on with the same arm. If you play golf or tennis, it's all very much one-sided. So all these things start to affect our body, and we start to really notice when we start yoga that, oh, it's really stiff on that side or this side. So we're just trying to unpick that mapping. So it's pretty gentle stuff today, but unpicking the mapping so that when we come back after half term, we can perhaps think differently how we do things. So some people really over support their body. So you probably know people that walk around with their shoulders up to their ears and are always very tense. So some people are naturally over support themselves. And, maybe they're trying to protect something in here as well, which is why they like that. Maybe there's a lot of grief or something that they need to protect. And some people are very under support. So it's not about being relaxed. It's about under supporting. So their body's a lot weaker. Maybe they're the type of people that just need to keep moving all the time. A little bit hyperactive, need to move their body. So their body is actually really quite loose. And they need to strengthen. So you might, come in and out of the postures. I notice sometimes when I'm teaching, and you might get someone in that's come from, doing a more active sport or an active form of yoga, and they literally can't sit still. And they're in and out the pose, and they're doing it before I've even told them what to do. They really can't control their movement. So there's different types of personalities as well. So we're just trying to turn it all on its head and try and do things differently. So today has been very slow. So if you're one of those sort of hyper people, it might be quite frustrating for you, but actually it's probably what you need. That's how I am, incidentally. But the Feldenkrais has really helped me stop and switch off and do things gentle. When I first did it, I thought it was really boring, and now I love it. So it's really helped me to move slowly and think about how I move. So what we're going to do now, final thing, is this isn't really part of the body mapping, but it's lovely. So we're going to take a cushion or a block at the front. We're going to do pigeon pose in a relaxed way. So we're going to bring one knee forward, one leg back, and then we're going to rest our head. You might have 3 blocks or a big cushion here. Rest our head down on something, so enough padding. So if you can't do this, if you lay on your back to thread the needle for the same position, otherwise one knee forward, and you really relax. It doesn't matter if the hips roll around a bit. You can support yourself under your groin or under your buttock with cushions, and then make sure your head is rested. So it could be a big stretch for some people, but also a stretch but very relaxing, having all your joints supported. So just work out how you can make it a little bit more comfortable. Can you use a bit more padding, a bit more cushions to make it more comfortable? And we'll change sides. So it's a restorative, it's not really pigeon pose, but pigeon would be with the body up. Sleeping swan, it's a restorative yin pose. And the more you can support yourself with cushions and blocks, the more you can relax into it, and then the body will stretch. But when we feel pain, we tense up. So if you can feel the stretch but supported, then your body will stretch. Good. Coming up to sitting. So slowly bring yourself out. Notice how relaxing it is to have your head supported in a supported forward bend like so. And then we're going to find a comfortable seated position. So use your cushions and blocks to support your seated position so that you can sit and relax with that straight spine. So think about the spine with its gentle curves, with your head balanced over your pelvis. Chin's tucked in, not really stiffly, but tucked in enough that everything's in line. Good, and we can sit effortlessly with a straight spine. Until this happens, sit on a chair or move against the wall. If you can make this happen eventually, you'll find this position comfortable. Once your hips are stretched and you're able to sit, you should start to feel it as a more comfortable position. Close the eyes, take the awareness to the breath. Notice where the breath rises in the body. Can we take a slight control of the tummy muscle and take the breath into the ribs? Feel the ribs stretch. And breathe in for 4, out for 8. Holding the breath in if you wish. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 8. And then relax the body, relax the breath. Come down to your relaxation position. And again, maybe try a different relaxation position. Maybe try more cushions under the body, under the thighs. Maybe try a platform. If you've got enough equipment, have your feet higher up. Cushion under your thighs, feet on blocks, head on a cushion, forearms on a cushion. Making yourself warm. And relax your toes and your feet. Badly timed postman. Relax your toes and your feet. And your ankles. And your lower legs. Knees. Thighs. Hips. Think of that work we've done in the hips at the beginning of the class. Making space in the hip joints, connecting the hips to the ribs and to the shoulders. So think about those diagonal lines through the body, from the hip to the shoulders. Soften through those lines. Relax from the shoulders to the fingers. Relax the neck the chin, the jaw, the cheeks, the eyes, and the forehead. And then start to bring awareness into your body where it touches the floor or the cushions. Listen to the sounds around you, the whooshing of the wind. And start to slowly move your joints, waking your body up. Coming to a seated posture when you're ready. Your palms a rub. And look into the warm air.